Hey, what's going on, beer lovers? Welcome back to part 2 of our fundamental observation vertical at Bottle Logic Brewing. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, click the link in the description below and watch that first so you can watch this episode in its entirety. And make sure you stay till the very end of this episode because we're actually reviewing a very special Stasis release that's coming out the week that we air this episode. You don't want to miss it. So if you're ready, sit back, grab a cold one, and let's have some beer. Alright guys, so the next FO up is year 2019. This was last year's release, 13.55%.
Is it really 0.55?
0.55. I do find it extremely interesting. Bottle Logic literally goes down to like the 10th decimal point for their beers. This is the first one I've heard while we open. You hear that little tss. So this one might actually have some solid carbonation in it. Let's see.
Ooh, oh yeah, that's... Yeah, that's
so you can tell that we're getting into the beers that maybe aren't aged as long as the original ones, but I am not mad at that.
Ooh, it's a little soapy almost.
Yeah, it's definitely got legs sticking on it.
Yeah.
Let's take a whiff.
Ooh.
I get a lot of oak character on the nose.
Oak and like almost spices, like not just vanilla.
Yeah. There's also like some bitter chocolate as well.
Yeah, like baker's chocolate.
Yeah, I love bitter chocolate. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like team dark chocolate. I've always been team dark chocolate. I like milk chocolate just fine. But
Here and there, mixed with other things. I can't take just milk chocolate. But the top of my beer is doing that nice like swirly thing with the head, where it's like making little shapes.
Little designs, like clouds in the sky.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's dig in. Yeah. Cheers.
Ooh, yeah, tingly. Ooh, nice little sweetness too.
There's like, molasses.
Yeah, molasses.
Yeah, you're definitely
Sugar
getting...
molasses.
You're definitely getting some different flavors off of this. It's not just chocolate, vanilla, and bourbon. There's some definite complexity to this one. I like molasses, like leather almost.
Yeah, I get a little bit of tobacco.
Tobacco, okay.
Okay, I can
Yeah, I'm curious. Now I'm really curious what barrels they used for this one, because Greg was talking earlier about how, the first few batches of this beer, they kind of had to take whatever they were given, and then they were able to be a little bit more picky and handpick exactly what they wanted. So I'm curious what this one is, because it's a standout flavor, and I'm gonna say I would attribute that more to the barrel than anything else, but still great vanilla quality. This one's a little bit thinner than 2017, 2018 to me. It's got body.
Okay.
It's not as thin as 2016.
No.
And this could just be the carbonation too. Again, carbonation is going to change the whole flavor of the beer and the way that your palate perceives it. So maybe that's why I'm getting that. I feel like if this had 0 carb, it would definitely feel a little bit heavier.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of that like Coca-Cola look to it. Just the way the bubbles are forming around the glass. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the label design right here? It's kind of cool, but it says number 5. So
Yeah.
5.
Do you think there's an extra 5 at the end because it was batch 5, 3.55 for the?
Oh, probably.
Maybe.
knowing Bottle Logic.
Yeah.
That's
Easter
probably
egg?
exactly what it is.
I honestly don't know all the laws behind labeling your ABV on a beer. I'm sure it has to be within like a certain percentage.
0.03.
0.03.
Yeah, so they have room to make
Yeah,
it 5.
so chances are that's probably why they did that. Yeah, that's a good call out. So guys, that's 2019. We're 4 down. We got 1 left, and we got 1 more surprise left for you. See you in a second. All right, guys. So obviously, I'm the only one standing right now. Mary Jane and Jacob are behind the scenes, but I have a couple brewers with me. So here I have
Kyle.
and here I have
Nick.
So both of them have worked on FO
Yes.
before. Yes, in the past. How long have you guys been with Bottle Logic?
3-some years now.
Yeah.
I always forget. Time flies when you're having too much fun.
I've been here about just almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years.
almost.
So I've been here almost.
Awesome. Well, just fun fact, I kind of knew Kyle before he started here. So it was really cool when he started brewing here. It's like you have a friend who's making the beer that you love. It's like a win-win. And you guys work on this one, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
So this is FO 2020. We're down to the final beer. So we're going to go ahead and get that poured right now. All right, so you guys have worked on a couple of these beers. What's different about 2020, would you say?
Right off the bat is the nose. So this year, what do you think, Kyle? Right off the nose?
Of course, being the freshest batch, super strong on vanilla.
Yep.
Yeah,
This
it's straight
lot-
up cake. Yeah.
This lot of vanilla has got a very beautiful kind of fruity note to it, to where it has the not necessarily blueberry, but almost maybe like a mixed berry covered chocolate.
It's like
type thing,
Yeah,
which is great.
it's like a
because
chocolate-covered something is the vibe I'm
Yeah.
getting
Yeah,
from
I almost
it.
kind of get like a chocolate covered like dark fruit. It kind of
Yeah.
segues really well
Yeah.
into just the nice like standard just base of the stout here.
But then the chocolate and brownie FO standard flavor on the back end, but the primary flavor is that kind of fruity note.
It's a really good blend of like the barrels,
Yes.
the vanilla, and like the chocolate notes from those malts and stuff. What I like is a lot of times with bourbon barrel aged beers, especially guys, this beer literally just got released this week, so fresh off the presses, and the bourbon character isn't overwhelming. This is a beer traditionally, as you know now, we cellar age these kind of beers. You could actually drink it fresh, and it's not something that you have to be afraid of drinking. It's not going to overwhelm your palate.
And that's the one nice thing that I really do love about Fundamental Observation, especially as it's a showcase of the vanilla, is that it kind of adjusts as it ages as well. Of course, one of the prominent flavors of bourbon, and especially of the bourbons that we age this in, is of course vanilla characteristic. So even when you get it at the very beginning, a lot of times you'll get a little more of the stronger bourbon kind of vanilla characteristic. But as you let it age, the way that you guys have tasted earlier, it smooths itself out, makes it nice and just well-rounded too, that's the fun part about vanilla.
Yeah, the vanilla complements its the finished product as well with the barrel, because it smells. You get nervous when you smell it. It smells a little hot, like you get a little bit of the bourbon booze kind of burn, and you're gonna think, uh-oh. But then when you taste
I've
it,
had 4 of these, so I think I don't smell the bourbon so much anymore.
but it actually molds into like it contributes to this silky vanilla character, which is really quite amazing.
Yeah, the blend of all 3 of those like complex flavors just like hits it right on the nose. And it's interesting just to see like the difference between moving from where you guys started, with batch 1 in 2015 all the way up till now. You can just see like the story of Bottle Logic has kind of changed and evolved over time. And the fact that, like, for example, you guys are like the newer batch, of the story around Fundamental Observation, and you can see that evolution in the beer, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, FO started as like, the kind of flagship barrel-aged product that put Bottle Logic, put the feet on the ground and really solidified Bottle Logic. And to come back to it every year, I hope and think that people look forward to it every year as not being an overly adjuncted, thick pastry stout, but it's just it's a homage to like a true classic, just barrel-aged vanilla stout. There's no graham crackers, no marshmallows. It is literally just the beer that we brew and gets fermented, put into a bourbon barrel, and then hit with vanilla and goes straight into a bottle.
Yeah. To me, Fundamental Observation was the beer that kind of brought me into Bottle Logic, along with this and Dark Star, because it's like we're already talking of how many years we've been already making this beer. Back when this beer batch 1, this is pretty unprecedented at that time as well. Same with something like Dark Star.
Yeah, if you rewind the time 5 years ago, this this was the pastry stout of
Yep.
2020. Like,
I mean, it still
having-
kind of is. I
Yeah.
mean, FO 2020 had a huge release this year. All right, so I do want to just point out today something very special around fundamental observation happened. Kyle, what were you doing this morning?
Brewing fundamental observation.
Yeah.
That's right. So
to the next.
as soon as one bottle comes out, a new one begins. I literally walked into their brew house and Kyle's right up on deck doing what he does best. Just shows you guys, I mean, their work is never done. They're constantly, trying to improve and trying to, still maintain the integrity of this original beer while, building upon it, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
What's going to be different or special about this upcoming release?
Like every year, like every batch of beer we do, we're constantly learning of just basically everything that we do along the way. Different methods on brewing beer, different ways of just making it, just improving it, making it better, improving just not only the raw ingredients that we put into it, but also the overall end product. Just constantly exploring, just trying to find new different ways of not only just keeping this like the same traditional beer that everybody loves to enjoy, but also still finding new ways to segue into making it, improving onto it, making it a little bit better, and just kind of going forward from there.
Awesome.
Pretty much what Kyle said, but we want to keep this beer relevant with the times. We pride ourselves in FO being like, the godfather of Bottle Logic and being the true standard, not a excessively adjunct thing like I had said before, but beer also evolves over time, and so we want to keep the core value of FO being a vanilla bean stout, but with that comes evolution of brewing processes and ingredients like Kyle had said. So we will kind of adopt some of those into the brewing process, whether it be the recipe building or fermentation or aging or what have you, but the core beer itself will stay the vanilla bean barrel-aged stout with just a few minor tweaks here and there.
Awesome. Well, guys, I got to give you kudos. 2020 is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Really, really enjoyed it. For those of you out there who maybe didn't get their hands on the initial release, Bottle Logic is expanding. They brew bigger batches. I would look for your bottle shops if you're in, the West Coast area. Talk to your trader friends, whoever you need to. Get your hands on 2020 FO. It is a keeper. So thank you guys again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Pleasure sharing these beers with you guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, man.
All right, so I know you guys thought that we were all done because, well, we just drank FO 2020. But the folks at Bottle Logic have something very special for us. It's actually a beer that's not out for the public yet. But by the time you're watching this, they'll actually be releasing it to the public this Sunday. So yes, you can order it. You can drink it. This is the Fall of Umibozu. This is a beer brewed in collaboration with Toppling Goliath. It reaches 13.37%, and it actually has some coffee beans, Panama Geisha coffee beans, and they're roasted by Mostra. I know all you Mostra boys out there, get excited. That's what we're talking about. On top of that, I just want to point out before we start drinking, they're going to have some really sick glassware. This is a ceramic cup mug thing, but it's beautiful. Huh? Handmade too. We're going to go ahead and dig into the coffee. These guys are going to talk a little bit about the brew process and why this is such a special beer. But first, I want to take a sip. So cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Ooh, and it's ice cold, baby. Ooh, Jacob.
So one thing for fun, like she mentioned, notice how it stains the glass, but also if you swish it around a little bit, the legs that you even get on this,
It's
thick
engine
syrup.
oil.
it's thick. It's motor oil.
It is
It's-
engine
yeah.
oil.
This is a
Yeah,
chewy,
no, you're-
chewy
yeah.
beer.
Like
Oh.
you can pour it all the way up to the side, and it's gonna stick on the side there. It's
Yeah.
Also, you were talking before we started shooting. The beer actually feels heavier in the glass than an FO. Like, you can really tell that this is a thick boy just by holding it in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could blindly be holding this and go, wow, that's a heavy-ass
Yeah.
beer. But wow, that flavor. Oh, really, really sweet, really thick. And then the coffee notes are, wow. I wish I knew more about coffee so I could really get into detail with you guys. But this has got like a very unique coffee flavor. This isn't like your morning Folgers aroma or flavor. this is something special.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more earthy, I would say.
Yes, this is the Panama Geisha coffee from Ostra, like you said, and it does have a very earthy, prominent flavor. But then there's also like a mild, not overly fruity flavor, but just like a mild kind of brightness that perks up from the earthy tones.
It's very well-rounded, but it's not. What I really like about this is it kind of, at least in my palate, it focuses a little bit more on the sweetness and not just like the straight-up bitterness that a lot of other coffees do.
Yeah.
So especially with a beer like this, just accentuating with something that's very sweet, like this stout, which has an incredible body, to have like a nice coffee that can complement not only the thickness of this, but also just give you enough, just interesting flavors to pull from.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not a very acidic coffee at all.
Comparatively,
That's what it is. Yeah, the lack of acidity from the coffee beans is creating that sweeter. It's helping with the sweeter profile.
Yeah.
It blends very well. Do you want to talk about the carbonation about it?
Yeah, so this is a double mash, technically a double mash stout that was aged in the barrels, and then once it was taken out of the barrels, it got treated with the Panama Geisha coffee, and then we slow carbed it, which basically means instead of running the carb stone in the tank, we did it with a super high head pressure on the tank and just let the CO2 naturally soak into the beer from the head pressure. Which gives it like it basically encapsulates a lot of the aroma and keeps it all in there, and it saves the aroma for the bottles when you open it up and pour it in.
Yeah, the mouthfeel on this is smooth. It's heavy. Mm-hmm. It's like drinking a blanket of silk.
Yeah.
Like a heavy silk blanket on your tongue.
Yeah, the CO2 bubbles
dipped in coffee.
And I want to pull off of what Nick was saying on the CO2 bubbles, because this beer was actually very interesting. Because typically we would, carbonation is a measure of temperature and the volumes of CO2 on top. Well, this beer is so thick it wouldn't absorb CO2.
That's true. It took
even
forever.
between 28 to 30 degrees, which is probably ideal temperature for uptake in CO2.
Yeah.
We would pressurize this beer and we would basically assume it'd come in the next day being carbonated, and it would be flat because the thickness of this beer.
Yeah,
it just pushes it out, or what?
Yeah,
it just had a hard time absorbing.
It was so thick it would not dissolve into solution.
Wow!
And so it took almost twice as long.
It took a lot of days. It took a lot of innovation on our end as well to make that happen.
All right, guys. So if you're a Saving Throw member, you can literally order these bottles right now as you're watching this episode, provided this is like you're watching it new. If you guys aren't Saving Throw members, you can actually order this beer on Sunday. It's fantastic. If you love coffee, if you love adventuring with your palate, this is a beer to go to. And if you're a pastry boy, I would probably say just reach for it. This is sweet, it's thick, it's silky, and just the complexity of flavor is a total win. Plus, they have Cthulhu on the bottle. I mean, right there, I'm sold. So, yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, man.
Really enjoyed this.
Cheers.
All right, so now that we've tried all the beers, literally all the beers, I want to introduce you guys someone very special. This is Lindsay. Lindsay, you want to tell everyone who you are and what you do here?
Well, I don't brew, but I do a whole lot of everything else. I'm our marketing and kind of guest experience director. Been at the brewery since before day one. So had the incredible privilege and pleasure to build a lot of our systems. And if you are on the internet in a Bottle Logic capacity, that's typically me. But we've got a lot going on with the releases coming out of fundamental season is always kind of a sigh of relief for moving that through the brew house, getting it started again for the 2021 release. We've got a bunch more stasis coming down throughout the summer. It's been a rad year for some cool releases with everything from hyper mash to cryopreservation to these kind of sneak hits with weight ratios. It's been a cool summer so far. We've got another banger coming out. Some cool cans coming down. So it's been an incredible blessing to have this consistent release schedule in a kind of a shaky time period. So
yeah, well, and on that note, this has been a difficult time for everyone, but especially businesses that are in the food or beverage industry. For all those people out there that love Bottle Logic, want to support what you guys do, Is there anything that you could tell the viewers out there in ways that they could support the brewery and things that they can do?
Yeah, we've built up a couple different ways, seemingly overnight, but we've kind of perfected some of our online transactions. So we've got fresh beer that we're releasing, probably 6 to 8 beers a week just off the main system. Cool, weird stuff, experimental things coming out of the pilot side. That's considered fresh beer for us, so non-Stasis Project stuff. All of that goes into the bottlelogic.com/order online. You can pop a fresh beer order through and reserve it as something comes out. Like if we're dropping cans, it always goes online that way. So you don't have to like come and stand in line and wait in the sun. You can just place your order, come pick it up when it's easy for you that day. The Stasis stuff is moving at a pretty regular clip. So popping into those beers that interest you every couple of weeks is always super helpful. Also great to know that people like what we're putting down.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
gratifying in its own right. And then we've got the food truck, and they've got menus there that change month to month. We're about to switch menus, or depending on when this is live, we may have already switched menus into the August setup. But always cool entree pieces there. Always a rad ice cream. We try to always inspire a soft serve, like high level option that's derived from the current Stasis release. So we've got the Fundamental on right now, and it's like an old fashioned Madagascar Vanilla bean ice cream. We're dousing it with berries, and it's got like brownie batter at the bottom, which is like just the business. So lots of fun ways to approach. We've got a web store finally online for merch and merch shipping. It only took me a pandemic to make that happen. So thanks for bearing with me. But that's live, and we're shipping merch all across the state. So a couple different ways to approach if you're feeling the Bottle Logic love.
Awesome. Well, guys, I got to tell you, they have a steak and cheese sandwich here that is everything that an Arby's sandwich should be. It's absolutely phenomenal. Don't know if they'll have it by the time you visit, but if you do, I'm telling you, order it. You won't be disappointed. And I'm sure whatever they replace it with will be just as good. Guys, that's going to do it for this episode. I know it's been a long one, but I appreciate you hanging on. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. We got to hang out with some really cool people. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for having us, hosting us. This has been great. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, share with your friends, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Comment below if you have any input, you want to share some love to Bottle Logic. These guys are going to be watching this episode, so they want to see what you guys got to say.
Always.
Thank you again. We love you, and we'll see you next time on Let's Have Some Beer. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, what's going on, beer lovers? Today we are reviewing a beer from Stone. It is called Notorious POG. You may have heard of it before. Stone was kind enough to send me a couple cans, so we're going to review it today. So if you're ready, stay tuned.